Hey, Grace family. This is Pastor Gerry. I don't know if you still recognize me after a month. That's who I am. This is who I look like. And I am talking with my friend Dave Wenzel. I think you're a friend, right?
That's using the word a little bit liberally, but okay.
Anyway, Dave is a counselor psychologist in Sandy, right?
That's correct.
And he and I meet once a month to talk over things. And we thought it'd be fun to include you in the conversation. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Dave.
Well, we're over here in Sandy quarantining in our office, and where my wife and I see clients typically Monday through Thursday. With the quarantine, we've had quite a few less meetings. We're doing all telehealth, which everybody is aware of. So we're trying to take advantage of the COVID crisis. We're working 3 days a week instead of 4 and trying to get some projects done at home that have not been gotten to in the last
awesome.
5 years or so.
So that is really interesting. You're trying to do less work, and more homework.
That's correct. Yeah. I really early on, when the order for sheltering at home first came out, I found an article, and the title of it was "Your Coronavirus Sabbatical Starts Today." And the author's approach was essentially to look for ways to take advantage of this, and that actually has helped. It hasn't necessarily eliminated all of our anxiety that we're experiencing about not knowing what to expect in the future and financial issues and so forth. But we also thought if we are going to be home more, that we would want to take advantage of that. And that has been a significantly helpful approach.
You know, that's interesting because Janelle and I have remarked often that it doesn't seem like we have as much time as we used to. I think because I'm trying to work from home. So phone calls, Zoom meetings, all that kind of stuff. Janelle is interacting a lot more with her parents 6 days a week. And so we're kind of longing for more time at home.
Yeah, and I think that really speaks to the very different experiences people are having of this. To some degree, I would put Hollis and I in a really fortunate place in that we don't have small children at home, and we don't have parents there that we're taking care of, if you will. So when we go home, it's us. And so we're self-quarantined to just the two of us. And fortunately, I have a great quarantine buddy. But for example, and Hollis would say this also, the group of people that we're running into that are really struggling the most are families with young children and adolescents. Suddenly being at home together and spending all their time together and having particularly the needs of small children, which has been overwhelming for some moms and dads.
Yeah, I talked to a grandmother yesterday and they had to break quarantine because their daughter just needed investment.
Yeah.
But she had some young kids that were rambunctious and pretty active.
Yeah. Young families have reported to us repeatedly that things like their child care plan has been completely blown apart, either because the person is not available, but sometimes it's just the idea of quarantining means we're not having people over. And so where they might have had help a couple of days a week or more, now they're not having any. And that's complicated things. I've had some families where even trying to invite the grandparents to watch the kids is difficult because the quarantine styles might be different. And so, people are struggling to be consistent in their approach to this, and that can be hard. So people have had a lot of very different experiences.
So is there, knowing that I'm totally putting you on the spot, we just decided we were going to just talk, right?
Yes.
And hopefully the guys at Grace who do IT can figure this out, if this even actually gets recorded at all. but that was a little bit of traffic.
Well, the little recording, the little red light's on, so.
Good. But what happens after I push stop recording? That's what the problem is.
If you see an X or a delete, don't touch that.
And now you're seeing one of my challenges during the crisis. Anyway, like if you had one thing to say to parents right now, what would it be? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
I know what it is. And it's funny because Hollis and I were talking about it yesterday. And so I hesitate to say this because I think of myself as a young parent and whether or not I actually would have been able to take this in. What we were discussing was that because of the quarantine, now we don't have access even to our adult children because they're quarantining. We've tried, like everybody else, we've tried some social distancing get-togethers, but that's not quite the same. And so what we were reflecting on yesterday was looking in the rearview mirror from age 61, how quickly those years with our children went by. And at the time, we remember feeling, uptight and anxious and worried about all the things that parents worry about. And Hollis said yesterday, if we had one message that we could give to our young parent kids, it's enjoy today for all its adventure and everything that's going on. And I think to the parent who's sitting at home right now, completely overwhelmed, that sounds pretty much like a fairy tale or a fantasy land. But there is real truth in it that, this COVID thing will be over at some point. And it really is going to be remembered as quite the adventure. And so anything that we can do to take advantage of this time together, I suspect that at some point down the road, when we get the open door, in its fullest sense, based on human behavior, I would think we'll probably get back to our busy lives. And we've heard report after report after report of folks there's certain aspects of this they're appreciating. And one of them is that slowness, that pace of life. One mom told me that they now have had 42 meals in a row together. Wow. Where they were having trouble getting 2 a week in the past, and that they were actually enjoying it. And so to be able to see there's a gift in the crisis and the time with your kids right now could be really valuable.
Yeah. It's interesting. I've heard the same thing from folks that they appreciate the slowed pace. Our Sunday mornings are really different, not so breakneck, not having to get up so early to get into the office. I've had 2 significant dreams where I dreamt about my children or my adult children now, what they were like when they were kids.
So you want to tell your parishioners about your dreams? Nice segue.
But yeah, really.
Go ahead.
When I was thinking about it, I think it's that longing for what it was like when you really, now things are all different because they all have their different routines, as you said, and everything is pretty much distance. But I think I'm guessing, if I had to interpret my own dream, because you're not going to jump in there, I would guess that it has something to do with kind of that longing for connection to that time.